Alright, hello. Today I'd like to show a program that I've been working on, so version control for OSI mapping. So essentially, what is version control? Version control, I guess in software, for example, via programs like Git, Mercurial, Fossil, whatever you use, essentially is a system for being able to go back and check, hey, I changed the program like this, and it keeps history. It keeps like, hey, we did that, so keep track of that, right? Or let's say you want to do an experimental work and rework some part of your code base. You can do that, and then if you don't like it, you can always revert back. You don't have to keep the branch. Or if you're working on a team with someone, you can always merge their changes into your workflow or your work history or into the main branch, right? So that's the idea of what version control is. So with mapping, it's very similar. When you're mapping, you might have a collab where you have multiple people working on difficulties and you need to merge all their histories together. Or like, let's say you're a solo mapper and you want to experiment on something, okay? And you're scared you're gonna mess up something, but you want to go take the risk anyways. So you can do that, and if you don't like it, you can always revert back. And so that's the idea behind it. And so that's the idea. You can view your history and you can restore it based on whatever you need to do, right? You can read this blog post. Essentially, this video is going to be a video form of this blog post, but yeah, a little bit more detailed. There's some edge cases. This program works for all modes. You can, so Osu Taiko catch Mania, 1 through 18 key, I'm pretty sure. And for laser, it does work, but I do explain here, it's a little bad. I mean, laser, listen, the way laser stores its files is pretty weird. And so you're going to need to do some, like, create a staging folder. I explain here. I'm not going to explain in this video. Please read this blog post if you're interested. It still works. My main uh, justification is that laser development is happening for virtual control. I'm pretty sure. I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure they're working on it. Um, so this is mostly a stable program, but it does work for laser. I'm not gonna say it doesn't. It does. You can. It's just a couple extra steps when you every time you snapshot your history. So what is all this? What am I even talking about? Okay, well I'm glad you asked. So to start with, at this page OVC, and I'll link everything in the description. You can drop a bundle. So okay, I'm getting off track. So first things first, what you're gonna need to do is to go to this page. So you need a desktop program because it needs to read your game's memory and to know what map you're on, communicate with the web viewer, etc., etc. Read and do the core logic behind, merging, diffs, resolving, etc., etc. So you might be also be wondering, like, why not just use Git for your mapping? The main issue with Git is that it's textual and it doesn't really semantically show you the changes. Like here, this actually will show you the changes. So that's the idea behind it. So to start, you're gonna need a desktop program. I put here how to build it from source. It's a very lean program. Click on this, download that. Cool. Once you have that, extract the thing. And currently there's only Windows only. I couldn't be bothered to do Linux. I'm sorry, but yeah. Okay. Anyways. So this is the program, very simple. I have a lot of stuff in here. When you view this will be empty, this will be empty. This is the snapshot history. And so first before that, these are the tracked map sets. So you can track entire folders or map sets. And each map set has its own history of snapshots. And you can automatically snapshot every time you save. You can name them as well. You can also name it on the web viewer, more on that in a sec. You can manually snapshot in case like this is turned off, you can do that. You can export your bundle and merge bundles. I'll explain this a little bit more later. That's slightly more complex topic, but yeah, how you can like do collabs and stuff or merge multiple histories. So to start with, open the game, it'll detect you're in game, blah, blah, blah. And then you can, when you are hovering over, for example, a map set that's not being tracked, it'll tell you, hey, do you want to track this? And you can do that. Okay, let's track this map set. Okay, alpha rise. And you can open the viewer before that anyways, but so to start with, we have this now. Cool. So this is the viewer. Yeah. So basically, these are the difficulties. If you have more than one, it'll show here. If you have multiple modes, it'll show up here. I'll show you examples of that. This is all based on your OSU right here and the current snapshot. So this will change as this history grows. You can view the timeline. Sorry, hold on. You can change rates, do whatever. Sure, you can see timing and then the changes, but currently because it's just an initial snapshot, nothing really happened, right? Or nothing's currently in here, right? Okay, so to start with, you can also, oh, well, that doesn't really matter because we only have one snapshot, but cool. So we have this, some details here, blah, blah, blah. Let me show you like what happens when we actually edit this. So, let's say I'm a mapper. I'm mapping this or whatever. I don't know. Let's do something dumb. Let's put this in here. Okay, cool. Change. And look, it'll automatically detect that when we control S, it's saved. And then, hey, some changes happen here. And now the cool thing about this is that you can open it in the timeline. It'll show 1 second before the first change in the snapshot. Hey, we started adding here. And there's multiple different types. So like, for example, hit sounding, length changing, moving. What else? I think that's really it. I mean, that's all you can do in Mania. There's also SV. You could, like, for example, change, like, test. And then, what would make sense? Oh, I guess we could change, like, the difficulty here. Okay, cool. Control S. And you'll notice quite a few changes. Hit HP drain rate, 8 to 7. I added a tag. 2 notes were modified, one of them was moved. A lot of changes here, right? So this, oh god, I'm getting confused on my own changes. So this was modified from a long note to a shorter note. This was hit sounded, and this was moved. So we can detect like the old spots and stuff. So, cool. I might change the UI on this a little, but yeah. And let's say I just want to I want to restore it back. Oh wait, I gotta close the editor first. So to start, you do that, and then the desktop will ask you, do you actually want to do this? Yes. And there you go. And this should be the ranked version, right? Or the currently quality. Yep, it's fine. And there you go. We got the old version back. So that's the restore system going on right there. And now we have the, so this is the restore change. And so yeah, you can see everything gets, all those changes we did got restored back to this. You can also name these as well. So this was me adding notes, so we'll name it notes added. Cool. And it'll show up here as well. Everything here. So that one doesn't update. You have to like click out. It's kind of weird. Whenever I might change that actually before I release this video. What else? What else? What's the time? Sorry. I'm more conscious of how long these videos are. I swear the last video was 40 minutes. All right. So yeah, that's this system. You might be wondering what happens when you like. I mean that's really it. So let me show you other modes. So like for example, let me show you a mode with a storyboard, I guess. Takes a bit of time. Oh, yeah, I was messing around with like the this thing. You can see like the differential, like, oh, this went from there to that, and you can see the changes. And storyboards are also you can also view the history of storyboards. So this was when it was sideways. So yeah, you can view like very old changes of your storyboard as well. If you're tracking, I would, again, if you're programmatically making storyboard files with like Storyboard, for example, I would use Git instead. This only tracks the OSP file. You have to track the code files. I mean, I'm sure you know that as a programmer, but yeah, keep that in mind. But this is good for like quickly checking, hey, what did my old storyboard look like? And you can do that really quickly. This isn't really a new mode though. Let me check a new mode. Oh, I guess I could show Taiko. Taiko has its SV. You can check the SV lines here. Should also render in the game. I can't see because yeah, so you'd see them getting rendered. Cool. Okay. Catch. Yes, catch also, and also these all have their own separate like snapshot diff change views. They'll all render, as I'm gonna say, so all modes work. And of course their hit sounds will also sound. Yeah. These red things are hyperfruits, by the way. And the colors are based on the colored thing in the file. Cool. Okay. Here's standard. Also with the storyboard, but I'm not going to show that right now. I could, but... Cool. So yeah. I didn't map these, so of course I only have the import. But yeah. Why does it look kind of weird? I might need to change that. I guess I could show you like standard diffs, for example. So they would show like that, for example, if you move this note from here to there. Oh my god, these hit sounds. So yeah, you can see more changes here. And you don't have to click on this to see the diff. You can also click it on here if you're on the snapshot. So right here, I moved all these notes up just to test that out. And you can see 6.69 star to 6.60. So you can see the change when I moved all those notes to harder patterns. It does change up here and in the viewer, I'm pretty sure. You can also open the song folder if need be. Oh my god. Open that. I think I already went over this, but you can name the snapshots just in case you want to name it. Restore locally, I already went over that. You can view old versions of your storyboards. I don't know if I went over this. I don't think I did. So here, for example, here's one of my storyboards. I removed the background here. So this is what my current set looks like. Or my current storyboard background, or storyboard looks like. And then you can actually view the old version. This is not on disk, by the way. Well, the files were deleted, but they're still tracked because they're in the snapshot history. Cool. So yeah, you can see old stuff like that. This tracks every file in your set folder. That's why stuff like that is possible. I could show, for example, in on the fly. I guess I can show this real quick. And I already Baka. I already showed that with that. Never mind. I can show you merge conflicts. So like when you merge, you might be wondering like what happens when you have overlapping nodes. I'll show you what happens. So make sure when you merge, you have the track set selected in the desktop program, and you click merge, and then it'll tell you, hey, open. Well, this will just open the page again, but you can see it automatically changed your thing. Oh, I guess I guess I have to do that anyways though. You gotta reopen this. Anyways, you go here, go resolve, and then you in this set merge test, which is this. Some changes you gotta resolve, and it'll tell you what's different, and you gotta pick between yours and their, or whoever you're merging with, I should say. Then you apply, and then the changes will show in here. Some things about merging. So here's an example. Like let's say, let me show you like how you would like, for example, for a collab, handle merging. For example, so here initially this is your start when you start snapshotting. Then you do some work, and then pretend this doesn't exist. Okay, for now, this part right here. You want to send this now to a partner in your collab. So you give them the OSC file. You go into here and you export the package, right? The OSC file, and then they get it, and then they open it, and then they track that folder in the game or via the desktop program, and then they start getting tracked on their own history. From their perspective, they only have this right now. What you would then do is actually export the bundle that of your snapshot history. So you would then do merge, and you would merge the host history, like this stuff right here, and against this. And so what happens is then it looks like this technically. That's what happened from the partner's perspective. That's what it looks like. They started with this, they tracked it, and that's their initial import of the folder, and then they merged against the old host history, and then they get their history there too. And they have a common ancestor of this now technically. So then they do their work, and then let's say we also do some work, right? From our perspective, we only know of this. We gave them a bundle, but we don't have any idea how that bundle was used, who it was given to. And then right here, we want to merge back. So what you would do is you take their bundle, and so their thing looks like that. Our host looks like this. We share one common ancestor. Well, actually two, but the most recent one, I should say, is this one. And so from there, it starts deciding, okay, is this and this? Are there any conflicts? Is this going to have conflicts? Is this going to have conflicts? So it checks for conflicts, essentially. And if there's no conflicts, it'll get the history of this and this. It'll get pushed together, just fine. Now, if there are conflicts, so like here's an example. Like let's say our map looks like this, for example. Our host is this right here. These are our nodes. And the Y is the time. And then the collab partners is this. If we merge, their output's going to be this. It may not be what you want, so keep that in mind when you're working on the same diff. Their hit objects will get merged like that. Now let's say it's something like this. There's a conflict, and that's where the resolver will come, where you pick and choose. So that's how that works. Now, if you're working in like separate difficulties, you're never going to have this issue. Even if you like, for example, like let's say you do like, oh, I only do the first minute, you do the second minute to the third minute. If you do something like that, you'll never run into conflicts because hit objects can't overlap, right? So keep that in mind. You should try not to have to use the resolver. Again, if you're smart about it, you shouldn't ever have to use it as a collab host or whatever. And yeah, so you export your bundle, they take the bundle from the host, and then they get a common ancestor, and then from here they do their work, they're snapshotting their own stuff. We're also doing our own work separately, independently, and then we want to merge it, so they export their bundle, you the host take their bundle, which looks something like that, I guess. And then, hey, we have this common history, and then it from there it decides whether there's conflicts or whatever. And then if none, it gets merged all together back into one. And there you go. That's how it works, pretty much, at the heart of it. Yeah. So I think that's really it. I mean, that's really it. I've gone over everything: store reviewing, timeline. I mean, it's pretty simple, I would say. It's very simple. Oh, I guess you can also compare against snapshots. I guess you can do that. Other than that, I think we're good. There's some things I might change about the UI here and there. You might notice that. If you notice a bug, don't be surprised or don't be like spooked. I at the very least make sure I check every like text difference. So even if like for some reason visually there's something weird going on, all your history should be fine. It's if there's an issue, it's gonna be a website issue. The actual like core like snapshot history is like pretty good. Like there's I don't think there will be any bugs there. It's just the web viewer. Like visually, there might be a visual bug somewhere. I don't know in some mode like catch, but like the actual underlying changes should be tracked perfectly fine. So if there's any bug, let me know. It's gonna be a visual one most likely. But yeah, other than that, I think we're good here. I think we're done. 22 minutes, kind of long vid, but if you have any questions, let me know. You can join my Discord, ask for questions. This is pretty good for like mappers, solo or collab or whatever. I think it's pretty important that you can have snapshots that you can go back and be able to visual to see how your beat map or storyboard changes. Anyways, that's all. If you have any questions, let me know. All right, see ya. I forgot to mention this, but with your bundles, your OVCZ bundles that you export from the desktop program, you can actually just send it to a friend who doesn't even have the desktop program, and they can go to this page, OVC, and they're of course because they don't have the desktop program, nothing's going to show. It's just going to show this little thing here, and you can actually drop a bundle here, and they can actually view the history just fine, right here. Obviously, they can't edit anything. They can't get snapshot history because they don't have the program, but they can view it as an outsider, I guess. Just a little extra fact. I just want to let you know that you can send it to a friend to your bundle, and they can inspect it, the history, if they wanted to. That's all.